Okay, so again, to summarize the answer of from Joy, Rosalia, and Elaine, ang tax administration is sistema ni siya on collecting or pag-collect og mga taxes in accordance with our country's tax policies, especially kita na atay ginasunod ng mga law on our taxation and also tax policies as well. So it involves enforcement of taxes um, through the following aspect of taxation. So first thing is kung ano ang focus dun sa tax administration is the assessment. And then the second is collection. So it also includes the execution sa mga judgment and also sa capacity para mo act sa tanang tax cases decided by the court in favor sa Bureau of Internal Revenue. So that is the tax administration. Ala, wait lang as i-open sa nako ang module kay na exit na pod. So ayan, so from the module na kuan definition, system is a system of collecting taxes in accordance with the country's tax policies. So it involves enforcement of taxes through the following aspects: sa assessment and sa collection. So before ko mo-proceed sa to ang kuan sa aspect sa Bureau of Internal Revenue, maghatag lang ko og gamay nga background with regard sa kuan tax administrative agencies. So we have here kuno Department of Finance or the DOF. So this is primarily responsible sila for the fiscal policies and general management of the Philippine government's financial resources. So naa siya mga executive na mga supervision and control sa mga different agencies sa tuang government. First is the BIR sa Bureau of Internal Revenue. So, kaning BIR, they are the government agency primarily in charge para mo assess and collect sa tanang taxes and charges na gi-impose sa NIRC. So, other tax laws and also sa mga regulations na ginapatupad in terms of taxes. Then every time ang mga government na to mo prepare sila mga national budget, the attention is focused on the BIR for the reason that it is responsible man good for raising the the pondo of the country's total revenues para sa mga expenditures na ginagamit sa tuang gobyerno. And then we also have Bureau of Customs, so the BC, and Tariff Commission, the TC. So the main agencies tasked to enforce mga tariff, mga custom codes. The Bureau of Customs also collects the taxes on imports kanang mga ginapasulod na mga products na ginabaligya diri sa to ang country. So ang customs ang naga-collect nag mga taxes nila. Then we also have Land Transportation Office or ang LTO. The office is responsible to collect mga registration fee and mga motor vehicle na mga taxes. Then we also have mga duly and lawfully authorized na mga collectors. Sila ning mga taong or agencies or even duly accredited banks authorized by the BAR sa Bureau of Customs, sa Tariff Commission, and also sa Land Transportation Office na pwede sila mo collect og taxes as well. So, it's either these duly or lawfully authorized collectors kay person, agency, and even bangko as long as accredited sila. Then we also have local offices in charge to kung ano enforce mga local taxation nato natadaray mga barangay treasurers nato, city treasurer's office, municipal ba or provincial, then city assessors, city board of assessment appeals, and the central board of assessment appeals. So class, my next question is, um, what are the powers of the BIR? Power of BIR.
What are the power of BIR, ma'am, no?
Yes, yes.
So, the Bureau, pwede, ma'am?
Sige, go ahead, Rosalia.
So, the Bureau of Internal Revenue shall be under the supervision and control of the Department of Finance, and its power and duties shall be comprehend the assessment and collection of all national internal revenue taxes, fees, and charges, and the enforcement of all forfeitures, penalties, and fines connected therewith. Yun lang po.
Okay. Francis, do you want to answer, Francis?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the BIR has the power to make tax assessment to generate revenue for the government.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
So, naay sila power na mo assess and also mo collect. So, actually, mo ang number one nga power sa BIR. As to the tax administration definition, no, go-focus dun sa assessment and collecting. So, anyone would like to answer different answers sa to ang question? Joy?
Ma'am,
Yes.
ang power sa tax, ma'am, sa ano kay to interpret tax laws and decide tax cases, ma'am. Sila ang nagabuot ana sa BIR po.
Okay, thank you for that. So, kung ano, that is the third power of the BIR. Sila ang nag-execute sa mga judgment, no? Sa mga tanang cases na ilahang makaharap in terms of the taxation na aspect. So, isa pa? Gusto mag-answer? Wala na? This is for your participation.
Ako, ma'am.
Go ahead, Angel.
Ang kuan sa Bureau ay BIR po kay ang power to so, the power to decide disputed assessments, ma'am, kanang refunds nila sa internal revenue taxes, fees or other charges, penalties na nag-impose sa relation sa BIR po taxes.
Okay, thank you for that, Angel. Okay, do you want to answer, Elaine?
Ang number 3, ma'am.
Okay.
Summon and obtain information or testimony of person.
Okay, thank you for that, Elaine. So, kung ano, to summarize the power and duties of the Bureau of Internal Revenue from your answers, number one niya is to assess and collect mga national internal revenue taxes. So, assess and collect taxes. Then, enforce tanan mga penalties, mga fines, and mga forfeitures in case nga na ay mga naka-commit o mga criminal cases inga na or naglabag sa batas on the tax code. So, mao po to ilang isa ka duty. And then the third one is sila ang nag-execute sa judgment sa tanang cases nga ginakaharap in terms of taxation or the tax itself. Then pang-apat is to administer and also supervise and sa ilaha mag-start or mag-take effect ang police powers because they are authorized by the NIRC and other law as well para ma-practice nila or ma-exercise nila ang ilahang police power. So, first is assigning internal revenue officer, then PANDWA providing and distributing forms, mga receipts, mga certification or stamps, and other BIR documents connected or concerned with the officials. Then issuing receipts for tax collected, then submitting annual report and pertinent information to the Congress. So next question. Can anyone state the powers of the BIR commissioner?
Sa to, ma'am?
Power of the BIR commissioner.
Ako, ma'am.
Okay, Rosemary?
Power of the commissioner is to interpret tax laws and to decide tax cases po.
Okay, thank you for that. So, sila ang mag-decide and interpret sa mga tax laws or mga disputed na mga assessments. Kinsa pa ang gusto mag-answer sa other nga kuan? Kinsa to?
Ma'am. Ako po, ma'am.
Okay, si Rosaline. Next is Irish.
One of the power of the BIR commissioner is the power to interpret the provision of this code and other tax laws should under the exclusive and original jurisdiction of the commissioner, subject to review by the Secretary of Finance.
Okay, thank you for that,
Ma'am.
Rosaline. Kinsa itong itawag? Si Irish, no?
Yes,
Landawe.
ma'am. Okay, the power of BIR commissioner, they also make assessments and prescribe the additional tax requirements.
Okay, so the Commissioner of Internal Revenue or the CIR is the chief okay, Mitzi, do you want to add up?
Ang BIR commissioner, ma'am, is to Terminate the taxable period.
Terminate the taxable period. Yes, that is
Yes
the
po.
powerful ko, ano, kung ano yan, power. Kita gusto pa, Lariosa?
Ma'am? Yes, ma'am. Sa ano po siya, ay sa powers of the BIR Commissioner is to suspend the business operation of a taxpayer, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for that. You can also, kung ano, suspend the business operation of a tax.
Ma'am, ako naman.
Okay, Jennifer.
The powers of the BRI Commissioner, ma'am, another is summon and obtain information or testimony of persons and compromise, abate ni ma'am, abate or
Abate.
abate and refund or credit taxes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, nawala. So, the power of the, nawalang ako ang slide. Okay, so the power of the, asa na to ako ang power of the BIR Commissioner. So, the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, or the CIR. Okay, so if we are talking about the office, so Bureau of Internal Revenue, if we are talking sa ilahang head or sa isa ka tao na head sa sa BIR, that is the Commissioner of Internal Revenue or the CIR. So he is the chief official of the BIR who has the following powers or authority as provided by our tax code. So first, kay sila ang nakaantas para mo interpret sa ato ang tax laws, and they also have the power to decide sa mga disputed na mga assessments in terms of tax. Then they can also summon makakuha sila ng mga impormasyon, or even naman sila ang power na mo interpret or decide. They also have the last say on the testimony of the person. And then pang-apat is to make assessment and prescribe additional na mga tax requirements if ever nga needed pa jud ang kuan lang ang maka-decide ana ang Commissioner of Internal Revenue, if kailangan pa sa iyahang mga assessment nga mag-provide pa ka og more documents para sa imuhang mga tax requirements. And then we also have compromise and abate and refund credit taxes, then suspend the business operation. I-suspend, kaya niya, kusgan kayo ning CIR, kaya niya ipa-suspend ang business operation sa isa ka taxpayer if ever ha nga na-adjoy due process ang ang iyahang pag-conduct sa assessment, as long as napasok siya dito nga kadtong taxpayer kay nakalabag jud siya sa batas or sa tax code, in a glimpse kaya na siya buhaton sa CIR nga ipasuspend ang imuhang business operations. So for example, katong sa Jollibee nga Jollibee nga aspect, pero under man to siya sa DTI pud noon, no? Kana sila kanang mga commissioners of per offices sa government, as long as na naglabag ka sa any nga batas nga naka ingon dito as ato ang constitution, isa lang nakaingon nga i-suspend ang inyong operations yung business, suspend yun na ang inyong operation. Then they can also delegate powers, kay sila man ang nasa taas, sila man ang top management kumbaga pa sa business industry, kaya nila or isa silang power ang mag-delegate og power sa per offices or department sa BIR. So, next question. My next question is, what are the instances, okay, unsa ang mga instances when the BIR commissioner na could terminate the tax period of the taxpayer?
Pwede pa-repeat sa question, ma'am, palihog.
Okay, sige. Wait lang, stop sa nakog present ni ha, kay I'll have to take a screenshot manggod sa to ang klase. Dali lang, class. Kuha lang kog picture. Okay. So the question is, what are the instances when the BIR commissioner could terminate ang tax period of the taxpayer?
Ma'am,
Yes, Jenny C.
if kuan siya ma'am, mag-retire siya sa business or na siya plano nga mag-live sa Philippines.
Okay, thank you for that. So that is one reason, no, isa sa mga rason nga pwede i-terminate sa CIR, no? Pwede i-terminate sa CIR ang tax period sa isa ka taxpayer. First, kay kung mo retire ang isa ka taxpayer sa iyahang business subject sa tax. How about the others? Marie Chris, do you want to answer?
Yes, ma'am. I-remove ang property niya from the Philippines.
Yes, isa po na siya sa reason if the taxpayer want to remove his property diri sa to ang bansa. Branzuela. Kinsa pang gusto mag-answer? Lariosa. Kani si April Rose og si Crystal May mag-igsoon mo? Or isa lang ni ka-account or separate person? May I know?
Ma'am, on me, ma'am.
Okay. Sige. Okay. Ang binakog isa lang ka-account. Sige. Thank you. Okay, so napay gusto mag-participate if again ako ang question. What are the instances when the BIR commissioner could terminate the tax period of the taxpayer? Yes, Irish.
Kung mag-hide siya or conceal his property po.
Yes, isa po na siya sa reason kung itago niya ang iyahang property, kung gusto itago sa taxpayer ang iyahang property. So, I think no one would like to answer na this question. So, the BIR commissioner shall declare the tax period terminated and demand for immediate payment of the tax due when the taxpayer first retires sa iyahang business subject to tax. Then, second, kay kung gusto niya mo hawa na sa Pilipinas. And third, kay kung gusto niya hawaon ang iyahang property diri sa Pilipinas. Pang-apat, kay gusto niya itago lang ang iyahang property. And lastly, if the taxpayer wants to perform any act tending to obstruct the proceeding of the collection of tax for the past or even current na quarter, or even gusto niya i-render ang same totally or partially inefficient. So, This is the under the authority. So under the authority 2, we have here we can conduct inventory and surveillance and prescribe mga presumptive na gross sales and mga receipts. And panganduha nga authority is to terminate mga taxable nga period. So under sa terminate taxable period, na ako'y gi-note diri that the termination of tax period kay ang second name niya ani or mas kilala nato ni siya sa tawag na Jeopardy assessment. So this is the second name for the termination of the tax period, Jeopardy assessment. Then actually there is a authority sila unom kabuok. We have here kung terminate taxable period. We also have prescribed real property nga value. So under diri as a prescribed real property values kay og kung unsa jud tong na-assess from the from the city assessor's office kay for example magkuha man ta og appraiser ana from both private o public sector. So for example ang na-assess sa inyong yuta or sa inyong property kay kadtong sa private company is 1 million lang ang kantidad sa inyong yuta. While dito sa public assessor's office kay ang ilahang estimated nga value sa inyong lupa kay 2 million. Ang sundon dito nga monetary value is kung unsa tong pinakataas nga market value sa inyong property. Mo to siya ang gamiton as the pricing sa inyong property. Then inquire into bank deposit account. So the power of the BIR kay maka-inquire sila sa bank deposit sa ilahang mga taxpayer. Pero dapat kani si BIR Commissioner, dili niya i-violate ang secrecy of bank deposit law nga under sa RA number, dili ni siya letter I, number 1 ni siya, nagkamali lang ko og nagkaroon ng typo. So, RA number 1405 and other general or special law. So, under sa other general or special law, pwede sa nato gamiton si Data Privacy Act. So, he is or the commissioner therefore authorized only to inquire into bank deposit for these following reasons. So first, if ang decedent kay namatay nga owner, the family wants to determine the gross estate sa nabilin sa ilahang kadtong namatay na owner. And any taxpayer who has filed an application for compromise of his tax liability. So, for this compromise, we will be discussing this next week, no? Kung sa maning compromise. Actually, this is mga sorry, tawag ana. This is how we will get also our tax due per different na mga events. For example, sa pagpalit ng yuta, pag-transfer of ownership sa balay or mga gamit, and also sa mga mga sakyanan ba ingana. So late on our next topic we will be discussing ang compromise, mag-focus sa dito and be ready na lang po di ay sa third topic kay murag medyo heavy to siya gamay kay we will be discussing fringe benefits later after sa discussion kay ihatag nako ang module sa week 3. And also that any taxpayer who has filed an application for compromise of his tax liability under Section 204A of the Tax Code by reason of financial incapability. So, this is the reason or second reason na if dili na niya kaya bayaran ang iyahang iyang mga utang or tax liability utang niya sa iyahang taxes, nga na iyahang fines if ever nga na fines, then diri mo sunod no si commissioner nga i-check ang bank deposit ni taxpayer just to ensure nga ingon og tinuod si taxpayer nga bankrupt na jud siya. So di na niya kaya mo bayad sa iya mga tax liabilities. So the application for compromise shall not be considered unless na lang ang taxpayer nag-waive siya in writing the confidentiality of his bank deposits. Then we also have accredited and registered tax agents. So the CIR, okay, so the CIR shall accredit and register based sa ilahang professional na competence, sa ilahang integridad and moral fitness as well. Dili lang physically fit but also morally fit dapat ang mga tax agents, individuals and general professional partnership and their representative who are in the file tax return. Kay dili man na kailangan og kuan muscle ng dara sa BIR. You have to be morally cleansed. Maliban sa morally cleansed, mentally cleansed if you are working in the BIR. Then prescribe additional procedural or documentary requirements. So ang CIR, they can prescribe the manner of compliance with any documentary or procedural requirement in connection sa submission submission or preparation of the financial statement accompanying the tax return. Okay. So this is this question is not in your in your module, but I want to ask. So my question is, when should a self-employed be first registered with the BIR? Kanusa kaya class ang self-employed be first registered with the BIR?
Pag nagtrabaho na ka, ma'am, once na nakapagkita kag katrabahoan, ma'am.
Yes, isa na siya sa reason kung nakakita na
Kay
ka.
kuha man kag BIR ana sa ma'am, magkuha kag PIN ID. Pagkasulod na nimo, ma'am, kay ginabawasan na kag tax ana pag nagsweldo na ka, ma'am.
Yes, kay na naman kay income.
Isa.
Yeah, kinsa to? Si Rosaline?
Joy
Ano po
po.
ma'am pag ay
Sige. First is Joy, then second is Rosaline. Thank you
ay
for
sana
that,
pod
Joy.
ma'am. Pag makatukod na pod og kaugalingon niyang business ang self-employed.
Okay, thank you for that, Rosaline. Teka lang ha.
Ma'am,
So,
nanon ta ko'y ask.
Yes, Rosaline. What do you want to
Ma'am,
ask?
sa una ma'am ba kay pag start gani sa COVID, ma'am,
Mhm.
nag-ingon ang mga nag-post maguto ang BIR nga mag ano daw sila og tax sa kanang naga-online business, ma'am. Tapos ma'am, ginaunsa nila ma'am kay namang gyud gihapon naga-online pero kanang mga small time business lang good, ma'am. Kanang mga simple lang.
Actually, after sa imuhang sa imuhang pag-share sa second kanang mga naay small business like sari-sari store mo imo katong sa panduhan Then ang kay Joy, if naka-start na kag trabaho, katong first na point ni Joy, mo due to ang first nga reason or kung kano sa magkuha og sa itong question, mag-register sa BIR. Second case, katong mga self-employed na katong mong gi-answer. Ako ang pangatlo nga tubag dara na magsulod ang kuan ang individual taxpayer kay naman ko siya classification. So first thing is kinsa kaya tong atong matawag na mga self-employed na taxpayer kay naay mga big misconception ba kay 'di ba ang online business kay mahulog naman pud gud na sila as freelancers. Am I right? Tama ba? Freelancers?
Yes,
Na
ma'am.
nag-business. Oo. So, there is a big misconception if ang dati manggod ang perception nato sa freelancer kay kanang mga makeup artist lang, kanang tig makeup, tig gupit og buhok nga kanang individually nga na. Actually, sa freelancers manggod kay dara na masulod ang mga writer, mga photographer, mga artist, mga makeup artist. Then we also have we also have this self-employed professionals. So this group of people also includes if you are doing a online business, you are part of the entrepreneurs, 'di ba? Ano pa sila? Entrepreneurs. So mahulog sila sa self-employed na professionals. So, mga entrepreneurs, mga lawyers, mga doctors, business owner who run their own business or practice kung unsa ang ilahang natapos. Kay mahulog sila as self-employed taxpayer. So, they have to pay taxes. Then individual taxpayers. Kaning individual taxpayers again are classified siya as either employed siya sa isa ka kumpanya or self-employed. And if mahulog siya sa self-employed, natay different categories sa self-employed individuals. So, kaning self-employed individuals are further categorized siya as single proprietorship, entrepreneurs, or he is a licensed. So, kaning mga license, mga tatong tawag na mga lawyers, mga doctors, mga accountants, and we also have here the unlicensed. Kinsa man nila sulod sa unlicensed. Mao ni sila ang mga writers, mga photographers, and mga home-based workers. Matawag na po sila as professionals. So, they are mahulog sila sa self-employed taxpayer. Natubag lang ba na ko, Rosaline?
Yes, ma'am. Salamat, ma'am.
Welcome. As long as nag-earn ka og income, you have to pay the taxes. Mapa-online man na or physically ang imuhang kuan. Kato gani, maybe ma-accept lang siguro if naay if naay same sa kuan ba, same sa sari-sari store na patakaran nga if dili makaabot og 100,000 a year ang imuhang kita kay exempted ka sa kuan sa taxes. Pero if beyond 100,000 ang imuhang income a year, then you have to pay taxes. Nga na po siguro ang kalakaran nila sa kuan sa online. Pero I'm not updated mo sa balita in terms of tax karon. Pero unsa tong balita, Rosaline, like na sila kuan lang kanang quotation o kung pila ang maabot na kuan per year income?
Wala ko kakita ato, ma'am, pero ang ilang gi-post man gud ato kay halos na magud na naga-online. Unya nagasirado na ang mga store nila. Unya murag na bawasan na pud ang mga tax na payer, ma'am, ba kay wala naman nag-open ng store mo, sigurong ilang pa taksan ang mga naga-online.
Isa pud na sa reason kay dati man gani I'm not sure kung dilipat-lupad pa po to na tong Grab kanang mga food panda na ipatax po sila nga na.
Oo,
O,
magkuha
tinuod
bitaw
na,
sila.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Tax na sila, ma'am.
Nana sila tax
Ipatax sila po. Dati man gani, class na balita man gani ng pati ang tricycle driver ka magbayad na prog tax. I'm not sure kung gipatupad po to nila na magbayad og tax ang tricycle drivers. Og bisan ang sikad driver. Pero sa Manila man ata to. Pero di lang ko sure. Nabalita to nga dagan kayo nag second demotion nga nang ipatax pang mga low income na mga tao. Pero we can't say man good na low jud ang ilang income kay depende po ana. So I think kuan katupod isa po to sa reason kay nag-shift naman gud ang mga kuan no physical store into online, especially karon pandemic kay daghan na jud kayo nag-online. Di na gani ko makadtog kuan downtown kay online na lang ta pa-deliver na lang nako tanan. Ana good. Pati daghan po kayo nag-close na tindahan Nag-shift na po into online. Then kuan next question. Okay, from our discussion sa tong module. Unsa kaya ang difference sa commercial invoice sa resibo? Commercial invoice versus sa receipt. Okay, kung sa nagtaas og kamot. Mitzi?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ang commercial invoice, ma'am, request for payment. Then ang receipt, ma'am, is kanang proof sa payment.
Okay, so dahil lang ha. Okay, so sa commercial invoice, unsa kaya ito Mitzi?
Ang commercial, ma'am, is kanang request for payment. Then ang receipt is proof siya sa payment kanang imong ginabayaran gud, ma'am.
Okay, so thank you for that, Mitzi.
Tama ba?
So sales invoice or may nag-message. Mag-reply sa ako class kadali lang. Okay. Okay, so with Mitzi's answer, ang invoice kay gina-issue ni siya prior pa sa payment being made, and ang resibo kay gina-issue na siya after. So tama to yung mga Mitzi. So if you say sales invoice kay before sa payment, before ang payment kay mahatag, while ang receipt kay na i-issue na nimo siya after a payment is processed. Ana lang siya kadali na kuan. So in our module, ang sales or commercial invoice, this is a document na gina-issue by the seller of goods padulong sa buyer. Then kaning receipt is a document issued for sales of services as to our module. But to other resources class, kaning the main the difference between sa sales invoice or the invoices o sa resibo, ang invoice kay gina-issue siya before or prior to a payment being made, while ang resibo or receipt is issued siya after na a payment is processed. So, another difference na is that ang invoice is request for payment issued by the seller, as what Mitzi said, and ang receipt kay proof of payment siya given sa buyer. So, thank you for that, Mitzi. Then, can anyone state the rules regarding sa registration requirements for the continuation of a business of a deceased or namatay na person and the transfer of business ownership? So this
Ma'am?
is yes. Oh, kulbaan ko.
Ang sakit ng imong question, ma'am.
Hala ni, muragon mulugwa ang akong heart. Sorry kasi kayo, naka-double screen ko, so nasa side ang ako ang screen sa
Ah,
sa
sige.
kulbaan ko. So, ako ang question kay state the rules regarding sa registration sa registration requirements for the continuation sa isa ka business of a deceased nga person or namatay na person, and also sa transfer of business ownership. So, makita ni siya sa adoption of electronic filing and payment system or EFPS. Next.
Sige po.
This is on page 41. On page 41.
Kaning number 1, ma'am?
Wait lang, nawala kong page 41. Tatlo na sila kabuok.
Yes, ma'am. Tong number 1, no additional payment.
Sige.
No additional payment shall be required for the remaining period within which the tax was paid.
Okay, thank you. So, transfer of ownership. So, this is when ang isa ka person who has paid the annual registration kay namatay. And the same business is continued siya pero sa iba na person or kanang tao nga nagkaroon og interest sa nabilin nga business sa namatay, no? So these are the following rules na kailangan natin i-observe. First, itong giingon ni Joy na no additional payment nga kailangan if or required for the remaining period within which the tax was paid. Kinabayaran naman to siya sa namatay. So, wala na yung mga additional payment na mahitabo. Pero panduha, adtong person nga gusto mo continue sa business should submit ang inventories of goods or stocks o kung pila ang sulod atong tindahan nga unsa ba na business na ang iyaha, kailangan niya i-inventaryo kung pila ang sulod na mga stocks or goods to the BIR within 30 days. Dapat makapasa na siya from the death of the decedent. So, sa pangatlo, nga rule na kailangan natin i-observe sa pag-transfer of ownership is that the same requirement from 1 and 2 shall also be applied in case nga gusto o transfer of ownership lang or change of name sa business establishment. Wala namatay ang owner. Ingani. Sa number 3, wala namatay ang owner. Gusto lang niya i-transfer ang iyang ownership. As well as gusto niya kambyuan ang pangalan sa iyang business. Then, same lang sila requirement. No additional payment na kailangan, pero kailangan nila i-inventory ang tanang sulod sa business. Then, ipasa nila dapat within 30 days upon transferring of start sa pagbilang kay kadtong times na gusto na i-transfer ang ownership or kambyuhan ang pangalan. Then, transfer of business place. So, in case a registered person decide na mo-transfer siya og isa ka lugar or ang iyahang head office supposedly kay sa Manila kay gusto na niya diri sa Davao ang himuon niyang head office or branches ba, it shall be his duty nga i-update ang iyahang registration status by filing mga application for registration information update. So, diri na mahulog ning mga BIR forms na makita na to at the page page 40. So, nato yung mga lahi na forms. So, before ko mabalik dito sa transfer of ownership, kay nakuan man ni siya naambakan. So, registration requirements, a person subject to any internal revenue tax shall register once lang with the appropriate na revenue office. Kung unsa tong pinakaduol sa iya class, if you are working, pinakaduol sa inyong ginatrabahuan, and with this, mo depende man po good siya if the company wants yung ikaw mismo ang mag-asikaso sa imuhang asikaso sa imuhang BIR, then ikaw jud mo adto dito sa RDO dara sa Magallanes. Pero naayo yung mga companies magud nga sila na ang nag-asikaso sa inyong BIR. For example, kadtong gitrabahoan sa ko ang friend dati, ang company na ang company na ang nag-atiman sa iyang BIR. But the problem is, for example, ang inyong head office kay na dito sa Manila, so most probably ang RDO ninyo kay nasa Manila. Ang naging problema, class, kay kailangan niya kambyuhan ang address na gibutang niya dito sa iyang BIR. Karon, nag-resign na po siya dito sa iyang gitrabahuan. Dili niya ma-update agad-agad without the authorization from her past company nga pwede niya i-transfer ang iyahang registration diri sa Davao. Then mag-transfer magud siya og residency sa ilahang lugar. Mao to nga kailangan jud niya kay dili siya makapahimo og passport ata to iyang ginaatiman or lisensya, something ingana na siya naging problema nga naglisod siya tungod sa iyang BIR. So as much as possible, kung sa to pinakaduol sa inyo ha. So depende sa inyo if gusto mo duol sa inyo ang trabaho, duol sa inyo ang gipuy-an, or kung asa mo na bilong na pinakaduol nga RDO or office. Then we also have any person required to file a tax return statement or document shall be registered and assigned a tax identification number. Then dapat class only one tax identification number shall be assigned sa isa ka taxpayer. Dili pwede mo duha. If nawala man galing ang inyong hangkuan BIR, just get an affidavit of loss, then fill up mo og form 1905 para mo mangayo og another copy of your ID as long as na may affidavit of loss na papel na gipirmahan sa attorney. That any person who shall secure more than one tin shall be criminally liable. So, may mga criminal case if ever na magduha-duha mo. But there is also exception sa registration requirements. First is that when a foreign currency deposit unit or FCDU, which is merely a division of a local or foreign bank in the Philippines. So this is assigned another TIN by the BIR para lang for the purpose of filing its tax returns and also pagbayad nila og final tax nila on its foreign currency transaction. Then we also have panduha in cases where ang isa ka registered taxpayer kay namatay. So the administrator or executor shall register the estate of the namatay nga owner, no? And a new tin shall be supplied para dito nga estate nga nabilin sa deceased nga person. So, registration period. So, every person daw class are subject to any internal revenue tax. So, the tax shall register once with the appropriate na revenue district officer or the RDO na kung ginabanggit ka ganiha. So, naalang tayo 10 days from the date of employment. If kailangan na to mag-secure o BIR na to, so 10 days from the employment na to para mag-request ta. On or before the commencement of business if we are if we want to have our own business, kay we have to commence a kailangan to mo secure o internal revenue tax before ta mo operate sa to ang business. Kato di ay, before ta mo operate sa to ang business. Then, pangatlo, before payment of any tax due. Then, pang-apat is upon filing of a return, mga statement or declaration na to as required sa to ang tax code. Then, time annual registration fee. So, ang annual registration fee na to kay 500 pesos for every separate or distinct establishment. Every separate na siya ha. So, if duha ka book inyong business, so duha sad kakuan ka 5 registration fee ang inyong bayaran, including facility types where ang sales transaction kay mo occur. So, it shall be paid upon registration and also every year thereafter or on before the last day of January every year. So, kanina ang mga different BIR forms. So, ang first is the 1901. This is for registration sa mga self-employed, mga mixed income na individual sama nako and estates and trust. So, actually, supposedly dapat mixed income individual ko pero ginahulog magud ko sa eskwelahan sa 1902 sa individual earning purely compensation income. And then 1903 is for registration of corporation na to and mga partnerships na business type. Then 1905 is for updating or pag-cancel na to sa registration na to or sa cancellation na to sa TIN and having a new copy of certificate of registration. Mao ni siyang ginaingon kaganiyan na if ever mawala man ang inyong inyong TIN ID or tax identification number, ayaw jud mo og fill up og bag-ong form na 1901 ba or 1902 ba kung asa man mo bilong dara. Dapat dito jud mo sa 1905. Kay naalaman mo naman mo information dito, i-retrieve na lang to nila and give you another new ID. Kaya pa dili mo madoble og TIN. Kaya mahulog siya as criminal case.
Ma'am, akong case, ma'am, kay nawala akong TIN ID, ma'am. 1905 ako ang yan, ma'am.
1905. Ako class,
Yes,
pangatlo na nako nang wala ang ako ang ID.
Pangatlo, ma'am.
Nawala na po akong ID ron.
Pero,
last time nawala.
Pero itong first na nawala sa mo, ma'am, second, ma'am, 1905, gi-releasean dahil kag ID, ma'am.
kuan, one day lang ko ato nag-process. Nag-start ko ato dito, early jud ko 7 a.m. As long as na dili busy ang BIR, maasikaso man dayon nila. Nakuha dayon. Oh, nakuha dayon ako within the day.
Sige, sige ma'am.
Nalang ko'y fee ato gibayaran, nakalimot ko kung 500 ba tong fee na gibayaran.
500 na Japon, ma'am.
Naibayaran. Pagka mawala.
Pero kailangan gyapon kamo kog ano ma'am, kanang
affidavit of loss.
Affidavit of loss.
Nagkuha ko affidavit of loss sa kuan sa Hall of Justice, libre lang.
Sige.
Asa dapit na, ma'am?
Sa Ecolan. Atubangan sa terminal. Libre lang na ang kuan, affidavit of loss. Much better gani og kung daghan mo mga butang nga nawala, isahon na lang ninyo dito
nga pati ID sa eskwelahan mangingana, ma'am.
Oo, mangingana. Kay for example karon sa kuan nawala nga ako ang BIR, ang ako ang PhilHealth o SSS. Isahon na lang nako kay para isa lang ka copy. Ya pwede na nimo ipa-photocopy para i-present nimo dito sa kuan ibang departments. Wala ko mga ID.
Yes, ma'am. Parehasad sa amo. Sige, ma'am. Salamat.
Welcome. Then, kato siya, contents na makita na to sa registration form, makita na to itong taxpayer name, ang ito pangalan, or style sa to ang business, yan ang kung saan industry ta, retail, wholesale, sari-sari store, small businesses. So, place of residence and also sa location kung asa located ang inyong business, other information as required sa commissioner in the form. So, any person maintaining a head office, branch, or facility shall register with the RDO having jurisdiction over the head office, branch, or even the facility itself. Then, natay nga tawag na BIR Form 605. We have to accomplish this for the following instances. First, upon payment of annual registration fee na to, sa to ang mga negosyo, if sa mga bago pa na negosyo, or for renewals na before January 31 every year. Then, upon receipt of a demand letter, assessment, I think this is received, this is not received. So, upon receipt of a demand letter, assessment notice, or even collection letter from the BIR, and every time na ang tax liability or penalty is due or an advance payment is made. Then we also have the filing, payment, and updates. So, every person who is required to register with the BIR shall file a return and pay such taxes for each type of intent revenue tax for which he is obligated. So, balik ta dito sa kuan. So, kaning adoption of electronic filing and payment system. So, sa to ang panahon karon, kuan naman jud online naman jud tanan. So, ang to mga payments, ang pag-file nato kay through electronic na, so naay available ang BIR website sa ato ang mga kuan sa to ang mga internet. Pwede ta dito magbayad, pero moagi siya through GCash ba or through 7-Eleven or mga bayad center dara. Then, kuan. So, with the transfer of business places, so I just want to elaborate this. So, the transfer of registration requires no additional registration fee to be paid by the taxpayer. So, any tax return class currently due must still be filed dito sa RDO where the taxpayer is presently registered in order to avoid any 25% surcharge for filing of tax return in a wrong RDO. So, dapat kung asa ta na register na RDO, dito lang jud ta mo file o tax returns, kay if sa mali nga RDO mo mag-file, naamoy 25% na i-charge sa inyo ha. Then cancellation of registration. So the registration of any person who ceases to be liable to a tax type shall be cancelled upon filing with the RDO where he is registered and where he applies for registration information update in a prescribed form. Then sa printing of receipts, mga seals or commercial invoices, nasa tay ko andra first kay BIR's authority to print. So dapat ito ang mga ginagamit ng mga sales invoice, mga commercial invoice or mga resibo dapat katong gikan ra jud sa BIR. Dapat dili jud ta maghatag og mga unauthorized na mga resibo. Pwede na to na sila isumbong actually. Dagan kayo na sila diri ng mga businesses nga kanang mapalit ra gud ang kuan class. Kanang mapalit na OR lang dara sa mga school supplies. Actually bawal man na siya gamiton for kuan kay dili man na siya authorized sa BIR. And then we also have the BIR form of 1906. We have to accomplish this as a taxpayer every time na mag-print ng mga resibo and invoices are needed. So such form is to be accomplished with the RDO having a jurisdiction over the head office or sa isa ka branch. Unsa pang mga ibang requirements? So the printed receipts or sales invoice should first na dapat na sila mambayaan lang nimo na sila class nga authorized na sila class kay naadyo na sila serial number nga nakabutan nila. I think color red na ang sa BIR nga kuan nga sequence number.
Ma'am, kana kung kanang PIN ID lang gud nga magbayad lang gud ka sa ilahang buhatan lang ka ba? Valid ba na siya or dili?
Kala nagbayad lang ka sa online katong
Yes,
sila na lang daw mag-asikaso.
Opo. Pero kauban ako sa akong kuya dati tapos pag present sa akong kuya sa iyang PIN ID god kay one daw, dili daw siya valid.
Kaya ang iba magud kay gina-print lang magud na nila sa kuan. Na mabalaan man gud na siya kay naman gud na i-seal ang kuan, seal na gina-mark ang BIR. Kaya gani mahaglok pod ko anang syempre maghunahuna ta kaysa sa magpila di ba nga na magproseso dito sa online na lang. Naaman noon valid na ing ana kana sa online. Na siya valid. Mabalaan nimo na valid og kung mangayos lag authorization letter sa imuha. Nangayos lang salya sa imuhag authorization letter.
Wala, ang pangayo lang kay pangalan, address, contact number, edad, katawhan, mora.
Mora no.
Tapos embargo man to sa taga PIN ID go taga BIR tong
pwede good mo na naka-fine. Naka-fine mo wala? Wala noon. Pero gistoryahan mo?
Oo, akong kuya.
Actually, pwede.
Nag-ano sa nga dapat daw ni diretso na lang daw dito sa ilaha kaysa nagpabuhat pa daw kung uban daw piki.
Na-adjud nga na. Kuan, naamay ingana sa online last time, kakilala na ko nagpa-asikaso dito. Ako naman gud tigpila kay dali ra jud siya kuwaon dito sa opisina ay kung mag-request ka og BIR. Although magulat ka og 30 days man ata or 21 working days. Kung bagong kuha, magulat-ulat pa jud ka ana. Pero kung kana kuan lang, kuha ka og another copy sa nawala, dali lang. Kuan kanang nagpaatiman siya dito ID niya. Pero nangayog authorization letter tong kuan. Rosalia kadtong nag-atiman sa iyahang ID. Oo. So,
dagan tag 300 jud ang bayad.
300 yan, mahal gani no. Murag ang pila ang imong gibayaran dito. Kuan, nangayo siya authorization letter. Kabalo nami kung asa na to niya gamiton pag na authorization letter. Kay kuan magrason lang man to siya nga dili may available nga maka-add to so siya na lang ang magkuan magatiman Kaduwa siya na ngayong authorization letter upon pag-asikaso o pag-release. Authorization letter Japon.
Tuwa mo wala na may pangayoan. Nag-scam na nila.
Pero mas okay pud baya nga kamo na lang jud ang mag-asikaso dito para sure. Dili man po siya nga to noon kadugay na unlike before. Atong dating first trabaho nako kay dili pa man to Duterte administration. So dugay jud siya kaayo. Kadtong nag-asikaso ko sa kay di ba ang policy naman karon sa admin na to, sa administration na to karon kay one day process na naman jud ng ilaha sa tanan government.
Oh.
Mo to paspas kaayo ang ilang pagproseso karon. Di siya kapras dati nga mabtan pa kag pila ka adlaw, pila ka bulan magsige hinumlat. Charge to experience lang sa Rose. Okay. So, kato siya, ang printed receipts or sales invoices should be serially numbered. So, may mga serial number dyan na siya per kung ano magkasunod-sunod dito sa resibo. Dili mo pwede basta-basta mag-isi ra dito kung nagkamali mo. If nagkamali mo, i-mark lang ninyo og X ang inyong kuan resibo. Pero dili dyan ninyo siya pwede laksiyon. Then, contains the name, business style, ang TIN, and business address of the person. So, makita ninyo siya sa header sa inyong resibo. And then, contain information that may be required by rules and regulation to be promulgated by the Secretary of Finance sa ang Department of Finance upon recommendation of the Commissioner. Then, issuance of receipts, sales, or commercial invoice. So, the following rules are followed in the issuance of receipts or invoice. So, first is the time of issuance sa receipts. Dapat, kung kano sa siya gi-purchase nga item, yan ang ngayon yung customer o official receipt, mao dapat yapon tong date nga nakabutang dito sa OR. Then, dili na subject to internal revenue tax if ever nga 24 pababa ang invoice. Dahil sa magpalit mo og tag 5 lang ba dara or tag piso lang dara na pabaligyan, mangayo pa mo og official receipt. Kulang pa sa iyahang ink sa ballpen og sa papel na giprint sa BIR. Then receipt or invoice is not required again pag 20 less than 25 pesos. Then when exempted by the BIR Commissioner in a meritorious cases, if ang commissioner na jud ang moingon nga kani siya nga business kay exempted ni siya. Then regardless of amount, a receipt must be issued when it covers payment made as rentals or commission siya, compensation ba or pagbayad og mga fees. Then, a VAT registered person makes the sale to another VAT registered person. Then, the receipts should indicate the name, the business, the address of the purchaser, customer, or clients. So, if it covers payment made as rentals, again, commissions ba, or compensations or fees. So, next is that the sale is made by a person liable to VAT, another person also liable sa VAT. Then, we also have pang-unom, the original receipt shall be issued sa purchaser and itong issuer kay siya mo keep sa duplicate. So, most duplicate man good kay color yellow ang color no napod tay pink og sky blue. Ang puti na copy sa customer dyan na siya. Then, the purchaser or the issuer should keep this copy of receipts for a period of 3 years. So, dili ninyo pwede ilabay ang resibo agad-agad. Pwede pa na siya i-keep for 3 years. Then, now, let us proceed sa gross income. Okay, so can anyone give me the definition of gross income? Gross income. Gross income.
Ako, ma'am.
Kinsa tong tawagon sa nako si nauna og taas og kamot si Tubato? Tubato ba to?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Gross income means the pertinent items of income referred to in Section 32A of the Tax Code. It includes all, excuse me. It includes all income from whatever source, unless exempt from tax by law, including but not limited to the following items. Number one, a compensation for services in whatever form paid, including fees, salaries and wages, commissions, and similar items. Number two is gross income derived from the conduct of trade or business or the exercise of a profession. Number three, gains from dealings in property. Four, interest. Five, rents. And six, royalties. Seven, dividends. 8 annuities, 9 prizes and winnings, 10 pensions, and 11 partners distributive share from the net income of general professional partnership.
Okay, thank you for that. Mag-inom sa ako tubig dali. Okay, excuse. Okay, so thank you for that, Francis. So, gross income. Nabay, okay, na si April. Next is Rosalia. April? Sorry, si April lang sa. April, napakadara.
Yes, ma'am.
April,
Sa ano, ma'am?
sa gross income. Do you want to add up something? Definition for the gross income?
Wala na, ma'am.
Wala na. Same lang mo ni Francis.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how about Rosalia?
Same lang man pero ano na lang ako.
Sige, go
For
ahead.
households and individuals, gross income is the sum of all wages, salaries, profits, interest payments, rents, and other forms of earnings before any deduction or taxes. Lang, ma'am.
Okay, so thank you for that. So the term the term gross income whenever used without qualification is comprehensive siya. So as defined by Francis and Rosalia and April for the same definitions. And also with the with that definition, it is different from the limited meaning na to sa gross income for the purposes of minimum corporate na mga income tax or the gross income tax of corporations. So kaning gross income agad, it includes gross profit from ordinary na mga business and other income that is not subject to passive income from tax or the final na withholding tax. So gross income, it means income gain, or profit subject to income tax. So it includes the compensation for personal services, business income, profits, and even income na ginaderive na to from any sources whatever, whether this income is from legal or illegal. It in, but if gross income includes the compensation or mga profits or income na derived from whether legal or illegal, it also tukan ko. It excludes unless na lang it is exempt from income tax under our constitution. Maliban sa constitution, naapod tayo ginatawag na tax treaty or statute or or if it is subject to final withholding income tax in accordance with the semi-global ba or semi-schedular tax system adopted by the Philippines. So it is the difference class between gross sales or our revenue and also the cost of goods sold or the services. So the definition of gross income is broad siya actually and comprehensive as well to include proceeds from sales of transport documents. So to shortly summarize it all, kaning gross income, it means all gains, tanan nga profit, except sa passive na mga income, subject sa final tax. And also, exempted na mga income is the exclusions. Then, this gross income, derive ni siya during a taxable year sa mga taxpayer from whatever source, whether illegal or illegal ni siya, in whatever form, like money ba, property, or services. Mawala na siya ang sa gross income. So, if we say, yes, Ranilo, do you have question? Ranilo? Oh, ano ko nag-raise again. So, gross compensation income. Who wants to read this gross compensation income? April? You're raising your hand?
Ma'am, naba sa module naba sa Edmodo ang module karon ay mong ginabasa. Pangita na ko wala mong gud ako.
Napasa ba na ako sa GC class? Or wala?
Sa Edmodo, ma'am.
Sa Edmodo, ma'am.
Nasa Edmodo, ma'am.
Okay.
Edmodo.
Nasa Edmodo. Nasa Edmodo. Sorry. Okay, so gross compensation income. Kinsa may gusto mag-cons ani?
Ako, ma'am.
Go, Jennifer.
Gross compensation income means any remuneration rendering personal services. Ano ni ma'am? Why? Generally or?
Generally, diretso na.
Generally, compensate income is obtained from an employer or employee relationship between payer and recipient. The basis upon which the remuneration is paid is immaterial, determining whether the remuneration constitutes compensation, thus it may be paid on the basis of piecework or profits and may be paid hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or annually. In general, there is no determination of compensation until the service is rendered.
In general, every form of compensation income is taxable regardless of how it is earned, by whom it is paid, the level by which it is designated, the basis upon which it is determined, or the form in which it is received. Exception: the compensation income including overtime pay, holiday pay, night shift, differential pay, and hazard pay earned by minimum wage earners or MWE who has no other returnable income are non-taxable and not subject to withholding tax on wages.
Okay, thank you for that, Jennifer. So, ang gross compensation, hindi na lang ko i-admit. So, gross compensation, so in a simpler definition, it means every form of remuneration. So, unsa man yung remuneration? So, remuneration, it means the company kay nag-agree sila to pay the warrant agent with a reasonable remuneration for its services such as warrant agent and shall pursuant to its obligation under the agreement. Kumbaga, pwede niya ma-reimburse ang mga demands for all the expenditure that the warrant agent may reasonably incur in the execution of its duties. So, gross compensation means every form of remuneration payable for a given period sa isa ka individual sa services provided including, okay? So, always to ninyo i-remember ha kung unsa tong mga included sa gross compensation. So, first is ang salaries. Salaries, then we also have commission, vacation pay, kaya under po siya sa gross compensation. Then, sickness or sick leave pay, bonuses nato, mga board, mga rent, housing, lodging, payment in kinds, and any similar na benefits na ma-receive from the individual nga employer. So, before ko mo-proceed sa sa different na gross compensation or the classification sa gross compensation income, I just want to discuss when does an employer relationship exist. So, for a while. Okay, class. My question here is, when is an employer-employee relationship exists? Can anyone answer that question? Kanus akaha ma-exist ang employer-employee relationship? That is on your module as well.
Ako, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Okay, kinsa ang nauna?
Ako, ma'am.
Okay, Angel, go ahead.
Sige itong question, ma'am.
Kanus mo exist ang employer-employee relationship?
Ma-exist ang employer-employee relationship, ma'am, pag ang isa ka person sa isa ka services kay Naka-perform reserves sa right control to not only the end to be achieved, but also the means to be used in reaching such end.
Okay, thank you for that, Angel. How about Francis? Do you have different answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go
Uh,
ahead.
Employer-employee relationship exists when the person for whom services are rendered has the right to control and direct the individual who performs the services, not only as to the result in accomplishing the work, but also as to the details and means by which the result is accomplished.
Okay, thank
Ito
you
lang, ma'am.
for that, Francis. How about April? Do you want to answer? Do you have the different answer or same lang? You're raising your hand. April Rose. Or yes, Ranilo. Hello. Ranilo. Okay. You can type your answer in the message. I'll just gonna read it out loud. So April, mag na kay answer while nagatype pa si Ranilo sa iyahang answer. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes, Joy?
Ang employer o employee relationship generally exists when a worker agrees to work for an employer on a full-time or part-time basis for a specified or under indeterminate period of time in return to wages of or a salary.
Okay, thank you for that, Joy. Okay, so wala pa dyan pa natapos si Ranilo o Kwan. Okay, so mag-proceed na ko sa Kwan ha, sa answer for this. Okay. Okay, so Kuan class, so na to. Marami na ako. Okay, so the employee and employer will exist. Answer ni Ranilo. So the employees and employer will exist if when an employer hires a new employee, he's not just bringing a new member of the workplace. He is also starting a new relationship. Because employers and employees often work in close quarters, they necessarily develop relationships. So generally, an employer-employee relationship exists when the person for whom service are rendered has the right to control and direct ang isa ka individual nga nag-perform og services not only as to the result of in accomplishing the work but also as to the details and means by which the result is accomplished. So class, even though no, even though na kuan The remuneration for services constitute compensation even ang relationship sa employer and employee does not exist any long or di na or naputol na, for example, kamo nagtrabaho mo sa kuan man gud ang employer and employee relationship na kuan kay di ba naman tay mga benefits na ginadawat in kuan in working, or I'm not sure kung tanan na makadawat diri sa tuwa og mga benefits parehas anang kuan class inyohang SSS, inyohang pag-ibig, inyohang kuan PhilHealth, di ba? Dili lang man ninyo tanan or dili lang man kamo tanan ang naga-shoulder sa payment if you are employed.
Yes, ma'am.
Oo, 'di ba kahati man ninyo
Isang
si
employer.
employer.
Na counterpart, ma'am.
Yes, na ay counterpart. Dara magsulod ang relationship sa employer and employee na kuan na aspect sa mga tax. Kay if you are employed to someone, it should be 50-50 basis. Okay? Na ay kuan na ay tawag na naay contribution sad si employer sa inyong mga benefits. Then, as what I have read earlier, no, sa atong discussion today kay kuan, even though kadili na mag-exist ang relationship jud na nagatrabaho pa jud ka dito as kay employer, there will be a possibility nga kuano because of the relationship na nabuo ninyo when you are still employed with your employer kay patuloy japon ang inyuhang pagdawat sa mga benefits na nakuan na nabuhat sa relationship nimo with your employer. Why? Because of the help of your employer, you can get a pension or retirement or pension because of the relationship na nabuo ninyo sa employer ninyo. Nagets lang? Ako ang
Yes, ma'am.
ginuling.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Oo.
ma'am.
Kay 'di ba kanang sa SSS makadawat man tag pension soon nga na mga retirement na mga loans and whatsoever nga mga benefits na makuha nato. Kay tungod dito sa relationship na nag-exist between sa employer and employee kay na nakuha ninyo tong mga benepisyo even though na wala na mo physically nagatrabaho sila pero ongoing Japan ang benefits. So magbalik lang ko kadali dito sa definition sa gross income, no, kay naaman tayo kuan diring mga following na inclusion sa income from whatever sources unless na lang kay ang law mismo nag-exempt sa iya nga dili siya kasali sa mga income or sa mga sources of income nato, including but not limited to the following items. So natin compensation for services, gross income from our profession, then gain from dealings in the property, interest, rents, royalties, dividends, annuities, prizes and winnings, pension, and partners in distributive. So with this class, first is the the compensation income or the compensation for services. So essential ni siya because services must be rendered and that payment in whatever form must be made for such services. I just want to elaborate the plans na kabok 11 kabok para masabta na to kung unsa ni sila. Then this compensation income kay there must be an employer-employee relationship. So if ever nga absence or wala ang employer and employee relationship, compensation for personal services shall be considered as gross nga professional fee. So mahulog siya as gross professional fee if walay employer-employee relationship. So unsa ang mga forms of compensation ani? Pwede siya ang payment method niya kay made in cash, mahatag sa inyo ha into a full amount. Pwede sad class services paid for with something other than money. Dapat ang payment niya ani is naka-fair market value or FMV. Then services were rendered at stipulated price. So dapat bayaran niya kung pila tong giingon nga presyo. Na for example, if gi-assume to siya nga price sa to be a fair market value, dapat mao jud to ang sundon. So next is the business income or the income from business or commercial transactions. So it arises from sales of goods or services. Gross income kay maderive siya from conduct of trade or business or exercise of profession. Tawag ang exercise of profession na fee, professional fee. So in the case of manufacturing, merchandising, or mining na mga businesses, ang formula niya na if sa manufacturing, merchandising, ug mining business, ang formula sa gross income kay total sales minus cost of goods sold plus other income. If manufacturing na, as ka to ang istoryahan. Then we also have income from sales or dealings in property. Whether ang property na to kay real property or personal property. So, first is impairment loss is not considered under the RIA. Then it includes income from expropriation. It means forced na pagbaligya to the government. Then we also have interest income. So, only such interest as arises from indebtedness, that is compensation for the use of money or forbearance for its use. So generally, interest are taxable income siya. Unless na lang class nag-ingon ang ato ang law, no, nga exempted siya or subject siya to final tax. So under ni siya sa passive income. So again, interest income kay taxable income siya unless lang niingon ang ato ang law nga exempted siya. Then we also have rent income. So if we say rents, this is the payment for the use of real properties. So taxes paid by the licit sa mga lessor. They are considered as additional rent and constitute income. So taxable ni siya sa part sa nagpa-renta. So advance payment shall be reported as income in full in the year of receipt regardless of the accounting method used by the lessor. Then security deposit applied to rental, also taxable sa nagpa-renta. And advance rental representing option money for the property as well as security deposit is not considered income on the part sa nagparenta. Then, royalties. So, royalties, this is a payment for the use of personal properties. Then, sa dividends, this is a direct or indirect dividends. If we say dividends, these are subjected to tax. So, can be subject to basic tax ba sa final tax or exempt also from the tax. So, natin mga different types of dividends: cash dividends, property, liquidating, stock, scrip, indirect. Then, we also have annuities. Kaning annuities, only the excess of the amount representing return of premium is taxable. So, ang excess amount lang sa return of premium ang taxable. Then, we also have prizes and winnings. So, this is a tax treatment. Then, ang pensions, okay, we will be discussing this fringe benefits and de minimis benefits. Then, partners, distributive share for the net income of a general professional partnership. So, to be discussed pa siya soon sa partnership, states o sa trust. We also have other incomes derived from whatever sources. So, first thing is that gains arising from expropriation of property na nag-constitute og income from dealing in property. And then, gambling, do you have question, Ranilo? I-type lang, ginabasa man ano ko yung mga message. So, gambling, gains, and income na ginaderive from illegal business or from embezzlement. Also, compensation for damages, the amount of utang, mga taxes na gibayad and subsequently na refund, under rin siya sa tax benefit rule. So, kuan sad, mga income nga na-derive from the contest, awards and prize nga na-receive nato. So, balik ta sa kuan, classification of gross compensation income. So, can someone read the number 1?
Yes,
Number
ma'am.
1. Go ahead, Angel.
Basic salary or wage. Salary refers to earnings received periodically for a regular work other than manual labor, such as monthly salary of an employee. Wages, on the other hand, are earnings received usually according to specified intervals of work as by the hour, day, or week. An example is a carpenter's daily wage.
Okay, thank you so much. So, classification of gross kay naadra ang basic salary o wage. So, if we see salary, mao ni siya ang ato ang kuano, mao ni siya ang ato ang earnings nga ma-receive periodically for our regular work other than sa pag manual labor na to. So, mao ni siya ang kuan na to, ginadawat na to na monthly salary as an employee. While ang sa wages, earnings nga ma-receive na to usually according to the specified intervals of work. So, depende siya kung hourly rate ba mo, naka-daily rate, or weekly rate. So, for example, sa mo ang kuan, gikuha man ko ni siyang example sa kuan class no kadto nagpabuhat mi og balay kay ang sweldo man gud sa mga karpentero that time kay naka weekly basis man gud sila. Then if we say hour kay parehas aning trabaho nako karon as an instructor kay naka hourly rate ko karon. And then we also have the kuan daily rate dito dati sa 7-Eleven naka daily rate, so kung mo absent ka, kung ay holiday na di ka kasulod, then pakay sahod ana lang siya kadali. And then back wages, so kaning back wages are subject to income tax. Okay, so please ko note dara sa inyong copies no, back wages are subject also to income tax and also sa withholding tax on wages. Can anyone read the honoraria?
Ma'am,
Yes, Rosalia.
honoraria. Honoraria are payments given and recognition for services performed for which established practice discourages charging fixed fee. The honorarium of a guest lecturer is an example.
Okay, thank you for that. So, an honorarium is a payment to given to mga guest speakers who don't charge a fee for their services. So, kaning honorarium na ginahatag sila as a payment, mura na ni siya kuan bayad sa ilahang travel expenses, nga na, mga accommodation expenses, food expenses. Pero wala sila nagapa-charge og fee para sa ilahang pag guest speaker. So, kaning honoraria mostly makita nato ni siya or or often used in academic settings, no? In academic settings by mga universities kanang naga talk naga-talk for kuan graduation ba, mga events sa eskwelahan kana. Okay, so next is the fixed or variable allowances. Fixed or variable allowances. Okay, Francis?
Number three, fixed or variable allowances. In general, fixed or variable transportation, representation, COLA, and other allowances that are received by a public officer or employee of a private entity, in addition to the regular compensation fixed for his position or office, are compensation subject to withholding tax. Any amount paid specifically, either as advances or reimbursements for traveling, representation, and other bona fide, ordinary, and necessary expenses incurred or reasonably expected to be incurred by the employee in the performance of his duties are not compensation subject or withholding tax if the following conditions are satisfied. A. It is for ordinary and necessary traveling and representation or entertainment expenses paid or incurred by the employee in the pursuit of the employer's trade, business, or profession. And B. The employee is required to account or liquidate for the foregoing expenses pursuant to sustainable requirements of Section 34 of the Tax Code. The excess of actual expenses over advances made shall continue, constitute taxable income if such amount is not returned to the employer.
Okay, thank you
Okay na.
for that. Okay.
Sige, ma'am.
So for fixed or variable allowances, this is for the transportation, representation, and other allowances such as cost of living allowance. So the general rule of fixed or variable transportation, representation, or the other allowances that are received by public officer or employee of a private entity in addition sa iyahang regular compensation fixed for his position or office, no? This is under revised code o 2298. So ang exception niya class is that any amount paid specifically either as advances or reimbursement for traveling, representation and other bona fide ordinary and necessary expenses incurred or reasonably expected to be incurred by the employee in the performance of his duties are not compensation subject to withholding tax. So, provided the following conditions are satisfied or masunod. So, it is for ordinary and necessary lang na traveling and representation of entertainment expenses paid or incurred by an employee in the pursuit of the employer's trade, business, or profession. Then, panduha is the employer is required to account or liquidate for the foregoing na expenses. So, the employee here is required siya to account, liquidate for the expenses in accordance with the specific requirement of substantiation for each category of expenses pursuant to Section 34 of the tax code. So, you have to take note, class, reasonable na amount of reimbursement advances for traveling and entertainment expenses which are pre-computed na siya on a daily basis and also nabayaran na siya to an employee while he is on an assignment or duty, dili siya subject to withholding tax on wages and substantiation nga requirements. Okay? So, dili siya appeal sa withholding tax. How about the commission?
Ma'am,
Yes?
ah, commission. Commission is usually a percentage of total sales or uncertain quota per sales volume attained as part of incentives such as sales commission.
Okay. Thank you for that. That lang. So, commission is usually kay percentage siya sa total sales. So, kaning commission class mostly apply ni siya sa mga sales na mga kuano na mga representatives or mga nasa BPO or anything na kuan sa business na kuan naa sila yung mga quota na gina-target, naa sila target sales for the day. For example, dito sa 7-Eleven ako ang trabahuan, if ma-hit na mo ang target kaya hatagan mig 1% nga kuan kung pila ang say if kuha na mo ang target sale na mo for that day. Then, mga quota of sales, for example, kailangan niyo makakuha og 200 customers sa isa ka adlaw nga na or 500 customer kay maka-entertain kay ing ana. So that is commission. So hatagan kasi inyo hang kumpanya o commission paano as part of your incentives. How about sa kuan? How about sa bang next? Fees. Okay, si Jennifer.
Fees. Fees are received by an employee for the services rendered to the employer, including a director's fee or the company. Fees paid to the public officials, such as clerks of court or sheriffs for services rendered in the performance of their official duty over and above the regular salaries. Legal fees paid by an union on behalf of its president constitute compensation. Marriage fees, baptismal offerings, sums paid for conducting masses for the dead, and other contributions received by a clergyman, evangelist, or religious worker for services rendered are considered compensation.
Okay, thank you for that. So for fees kay gina-receive siya sa isa ka employee for the service na iya na-render sa iyang employer, including kung siya ang director sa kumpanya kay naa siya director's fee. Then napod mga fees paid to the public officials, for example kanang clerk sa court, kanang tig-kuan go tig-encode sa minutes of the meeting dara sa korte, sila na sila yung mga fees dara kay gina-request man jud na sila to do their job. And then sheriffs for services rendered in the performance of their official duty over and above their regular salaries. Kanang mga pulis nga na-assign dara sa korte nga para mo bantay na sila yung mga extra fees. Then we also have the legal fees. paid by a union on behalf of its presidents constitute nga compensation. Then we have also the marriage fees, baptismal offering kay that is outside the work na or duty sa kuano sa pari, so they get fee para sa mga nagpakasal that set kanang requested a date jud og kung kanus-an. Then same with the pagpabunyag, they this is the fee that a clergyman or a parish priest receives for his services rendered or even considered as a compensation nila sa ilang service na gi-provide sa nagpakasal o sa nagpabunyag. Then how about the tips and gratuities? Yes, Mitzi.
Tips and gratuities
Yes,
paid
gratuities.
directly to an employee by a customer of the employer, which are not accounted for by the employee to the employer, are considered taxable income but not subject to withholding tax.
Okay, thank you for that. Dali lang, na lang kay kuan. Okay, thank you for that. Murag nagamala naman gud kaya kung tutunan class. So, tips and gratuities. So, these are paid directly sa mga empleyado. So, usually by a customer of the employer, which are not accounted for the employee to the employer. So, taxable income but not subject siya to withholding tax. So, auto siya, again, ang tips and gratuities kay paid directly to an employee. Okay? Kadang ginapanghatag, I'm not sure kung parehas mo sa kuha nga every time na magkaon ko sa restaurant, kinagabilin jud ko og tips. This is not accounted for the employee sa iyahang employer. So, diretso na ni sa iyahang service na girender sa tua. So, sa iyaha to mapadulong tong tip na gihatag sa mga customer as a pasasalamat na lang pud sa service na ilahang gi-provide. So, if we say gratuity man good, actually ang gratuity og tip same ra jud na sila og definition. So if we say gratuity or gratuities, it is a tip given to a waiter ba, to a taxi cab driver, and other as a gift or reward for them sa ilahang services nga provide sa atua. Then we also have the hazard or emergency pay. Who wants to read hazard or emergency pay?
Ma'am,
Yes, Jerlyn.
hazard or emergency pay. This is an additional payment received due to workers' exposure to danger or harm while working. This is normally added to the basic salary together with the overtime pay and night differential pay to arrive at gross salary. Hazard, overtime, night shift, differential, and holiday pay of a minimum wage earner is untaxable as long as the MWE has no other reportable income.
Okay, thank you for that, Jerlyn. So, hazard or emergency pay, this is an additional payment sa ilahang additional payment received due to workers' exposure sa mga danger or harm while working. For example, kanang mga workers nato nga nagatrabaho sa kuan for example sa mga basurahan nga na kay sa government na sila na nasa hazard or emergency pay kay wala man ta kabalo kung unsa ng mga naa dira sa basurahan no na ay mga chemicals, mga makasamad na mga butang daraan na ginapanglabay nga sila ang naadyo dira frontliner sa pagkuha sa tumang basura, and also mga tao nga exposed sa mga chemicals nga na, and kanang mga trabahante na taon na mga field workers na nag-aadto pa sa mga bukid-bukid kay para lang makakuha og mga sales nga na, they also should have a hazard or emergency pay. So it is normally added to the basic salary together with the overtime pay. If there is an overtime pay, makatapad lang na sila dito sa inyong payroll slip para sa mga OT, sa mga night differential to arrive at a gross salary nga calculation. Then we also have retirement pay.
Retirement pay, it refers to a lump sum payment received by an employee who has served a company for a considerable period of time and has decided to withdraw from work into privacy. In general, retirement pay is taxable except in the following instances. First, SSS or GSIS retirement pays. Second, retirement pay due to old age provided that the following requirements are met. A. The retirement program is approved by the BIR Commissioner. B. It must be reasonable benefit plan. Its implementation must be fair and equitable for the benefit of all employees. C. The retiree should have been employed for 10 years, the said company. D. The retiree should have been 50 years old at the time of retirement. And E. It should have been availed of for the first time.
Okay, thank you for that, Angel. So, isahon ko na lang discuss class ang retirement benefits, pension, mga gratuities, ingana. So, if there is a retirement plan and also ang pension class, before that day, I just want to discuss the difference between the pension and retirement before nako sila i-collab as one kauban ang gratuities. So, first, kaning pension, this is amount given after one's retirement. So, this is based on compensation sa iyahang contribution and time of service na iyahang gerender. So, kaning pension plans manggod are defined na benefit. While kaning retirement plus event where one permanently stops working due to reaching a certain age or condition or due to personal choices. So, kaning retirement plans are defined na contribution. So, nabuhi ng retirement with the contribution while kaning pension kay tungod sa benefit. So, unsang ilahang similarities to each other is that the pension and the retirement are both concerned with the conclusion of one's career. So now let us back to our topic. So kaning retirement, kaning benefit, pensions and gratuities. So if there is a retirement plan and pension, ang requirements niya para ma-exempt siya, no? Or ma-exempted siya for the minimum requirements of tax code. First is that dapat reasonable private benefit plan, dapat naka-register sa BIR. And then ang employee dapat must be at least 50 years old, and also ang employee dapat naka-render sila at least 10 years of service. So benefits granted shall be available only once. Di na ka pwede mag-avail pa after nimo o retire kay manarbaho na pud ka kay feeling nimo kaya pa nimo. So class, ang dili na ka pwede mag-avail pa og retirement pay or separation, retirement pay or pension if you already have availed it. Then conservative position. So the conservative position aning retirement benefits, pension and gratuities is follow all. Then we also have the aggressive position. So the last three requirements is already enough. So if we say conservative position ta, i-follow jud nimo tong tanan nga kung ano requirements para ma-exempted. If aggressive position, okay na tong last three requirements. Kato sa employee kay 50 years old, 10 years of service, and availed only once. So in case na lang there is a conflict between the tax code and the retirement plan rules and regulation of the company, the latter shall prevail if stricter. So if there is no pension plan or if retirement plan is not a BIR registered, so requirements to be exempted kay follow minimum requirements of the labor code. So sa labor code ato ang i-follow. Employee must be at least 60 years old, and ang employee should render at least 5 years of service. Then ang 1/2 month salary for every year of service kay mao to siya ang magiging minimum pension. So, class, how about the koan class? The compensation for injuries and sickness. So, vacation and sick leave. Who wants to read the vacation and sick leave?
Ako na lang, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Sige, ma'am. Vacation and sick leave. The following rules shall be observed in determining whether money received for vacation and sick leave is taxable or not. A. If paid or availed of a salary of an employee who is on vacation or on sick leave, notwithstanding his absence from work, it constitutes taxable compensation income. Or B. Monetized value of unutilized vacation leave credits of 10 days or less which were paid to private employees during the year are not subject to tax and to the withholding tax. Or C.
Oh.
Monetized value of vacation and sick leave credits paid to government officials and employees are not subject to income tax to the withholding tax.
Okay, thank you for that, Francis. So, vacation and sick leave, ang rules lang dyan niya is if paid or availed siya of a salary of an employee who is on vacation or on sick leave, kay taxable siya. Then, padua, monetized value of 10 days or less kay not taxable. Ang terminal leave, not taxable sad siya. So, how about the kuan 13 month pay?
Ma'am?
So, ma'am.
Niegos. Ay, wait lang. Isa ito? Rosaline and Joy, no? Check na
Same.
ko kung kinsa pa ang wala nakakuan.
Same.
Sa 13 na lang ko, ma'am.
Sa 13.
Ay, sa 13, number 13.
Sige. Wait lang. Pila na lang ba nila bilin? Dagan pa man ay. Okay, so Irish, then Joy, then Rosaline.
13-month pay and other benefits. 13-month pay and other benefits are not taxable if the amount is 82,000 or less. Any amount exceeding 82,000 is taxable. The new law, RA 10653, increased the 13th-month pay, other benefits from 30,000 to 82,000.
Okay, thank you for that, Irish. So, class, always lang jud i-remember kung sa tong mga not taxable o taxable na mga amount. So, diri sa 13-month pay, if 82 or less, kay dili pa siya taxable ang kuha ninyo ang inyong 13-month. Pero if ma-exceed na siya o 82,000, kay mahulog na siya as taxable. Okay? Okay. So, next kay kuan man no, si Resaline ang 13, Joy sa 14 ka sa overtime pay. Okay,
Yes,
Resaline? Okay.
Okay,
Resaline?
ma'am. Sige, ma'am.
Picture ko, ma'am.
Free,
Okay.
13 na, ma'am?
Okay, go ahead.
Fringe benefits and the minimals. The tax code defines fringe benefits as any good, service, or other benefit furnished or granted by an employer, in cash or in kind, in addition to basic salaries of an individual's employee. De minimis benefits are privileges of relatively small values, a value as given by the employer to his employees. Under Revenue Regulation Number 5-2011 as amended, they are not considered as compensation subject to income tax and consequently to withholding tax. This topic is thoroughly discussed in other chapter.
Okay, thank you for that, Resaline. So, French benefits, ang French benefits kay, if we say French benefit, this is any good or services or other benefits na na-furnish siya or granted siya sa atong mga employer in cash or in kind. So, this is in addition to basic salaries of individual employees. While kaning de minimis, this is a privilege lang of relatively small value as given sa tuang employer sa iyahang mga empleyado. So, kaning French benefits and de minimis are not considered, okay, they are not considered compensation subject to income tax and withholding tax. Okay, so next. Joy.
Overtime. Yes, ma'am. Overtime pay. This refers to premium payment received for working beyond regular hours of work, which is included in the computation of gross salary of employee. Back pay and overtime pay constitute compensation.
Okay, so thank you for that, Joy. Wait lang, i-lista sana ko. Next. Okay. So, overtime pay, kay kumani siya ang premium payment. receive for working beyond regular hours. So, sa pila man itong regular hours, 8 hours. So, if you work over or more than 8 hours, ang sunod na mga oras na kay mahulog na siya as your overtime pay. As long as na ang inyuhang overtime kay stipulated or giingon sa inyong manager nga mag-overtime mo. Naman ko yung mga employees na even though na wala, nag-ingon ang manager nga mag-overtime, naga-overtime japon sila. Na yung mga empleyado nga na kanang murag kulang na lang ka magpuyo sa opisina. Sama na ako. Sige ko work overtime like 4 hours overtime without a pay. I just want to stay sa office for longer time para mo tambay. So, that is kung ano, a payment na ma-receive na to working beyond the regular hours of work which is included siya sa computation sa to ang gross salary of employee. It constitutes compensation. Okay, kisa ga itong gusto magbasa sa profit sharing?
Rosalia.
Okay, Rosalia, go ahead.
The profit sharing. It is the proportionate share in the profit 6F the business received by the employee in addition to his wages.
Okay, sa profit sharing, so this is the proportionate share in the profits of the business received by the employee in addition sa iyahang sahod. So, for example, dito dati sa agency na ko ang gitrabahuan, if dugay na ka sa ilaha na employed, naa sila profit sharing every December or the end of year nila na sila profit sharing as long as nga kuan giingnan ka sa employer nga kasali na ka sa profit sharing sa ilahang kuan silahang business. Sa mga kuan siya mostly sa mga top management na. Okay, wait lang ha. Then next is number si Mitzi ang next. Number 16 sa awards for special services. Elaine.
Awards for special services, the amount received as an employee, or suggestions to employer resulting in the prevention of the theft or robbery. Awards for past services and the like are also compensations.
Okay, so these awards for special services. So, mao ni siya ang mostly madawat sa mga employees nga naka, for example, sa AMOA, dito sa 7-Eleven dati, kay sige raman may makakuan no, makadakop og mga mag-shoplift na ginahatagan mi og kuan class special award sa mo ang service na gi-provide na mga guard nga mo sa mga guard, mga police. So as an employer-employee relationship, nagahata jud ng mga employer og mga awards especially kanang para maka-prevent nila ang pagpangawat ingana mga shoplifter sa tindahan. Howd kay ito mo ang guard dati class kay kabalo siya og naay something wrong na ginabuhat ang mga associate na sakop niya nga ginamaniobra sa isa ka associate ang pagkaha. Although dili siya gapangawat sa tindahan class, pero ang ginaigo niya is ang customer. Wala niya gina-input ang sale. Ay, gina-input niya ang sale, pero gina-times 2 niya ang mga big amount. Tapos ginalista niya og kung pila ang iyahang na-accumulate per day. Ana iyahang style. Makakuan gud siya katong gi-interview na mo siya kas kay maka 1,000 a day ata siya. Ingana. At first man gud daw sa iyahang 3 months na ginabuhat to. Tingala jud mi class, dili pa customer to iyahang ginaigo ang store pa kay tingala mi sige mig ka short sa mga inventory. monthly man mi nag-inventory, sige may ka-short. Abi po na mo, basig lapses po na mo as a manager and whatsoever. Then, nag-amin man po siya nga 3 months nga katong mga kasagsagan sa kuan, sa naay mga kulang sa kuan sa tindahan kay mao pud mga times na nahitabo pud mga bagay na to. Then eventually kay nag-shift na siya sa iyang trabaho nakatoto nadakpan na mo siya on the act nga galista jud siya og mga kuan pila ang iyahang nakuha sa customer. Then napod tong isa ka guard nadakpan niya iyahang kauban na guard nga naay nahulog nga 500 pesos ang customer gitamakan niya ang kwarta o giguyod-guyod niya iyang tiil. Wala jud niya nagsauli sa kuan plus sa customer tong 500 pesos. And also kadtong kuan sa mga shoplifter kinsa ang kuan diri familiar with crossing na 7-Eleven kaya na ako dapit sa kuan BPI sa Matina crossing.
Ako ma'am, taga-bangka lang ko ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Ako, ma'am.
Dati man god nakalimot ko sa nato year 2016 siguro bago pa mi abri atong nga tindahan pero dili ko sa kuan sa crossing sa apply ako na assign that time 2016 ata na kuan na sila na shoplifting na shoplift aware ba mo ko sa mga sulod sa 7-Eleven kanang di ba ang isa karak kay puro chichirya tapos ang isa kay puro mga pampagwapa, mga deodorant, mga perfume.
Yes, ma'am.
Di ba, ana? Ana hitabo, class. Uso ni siya tong kuan, tong mga shoplifter nga disente kayong mga sanina. Dili jud niya ma-expect nga shoplifter sila. Nya, mga kuan na po sila, mga idaran na po sila. Nya, madam-madam og nakapolo kayo ang mga kuan, ang mga shoplifter. Kabalo ba mo, class? Natingala na lang ang mga associate class wala na deodorant section o chocolate sections lang tindahan. Busy man gud na sila every
Tudog kuha, ma'am.
hurot jud kuha class, literal. Wala pod mi kabanog kung giunsa. Paglantaw na mo sa kuan class, paglantaw na mo sa kamera, gisuksok lang sa pantalon. Murag naay tahi ang ilahang pantalon nga magkasya sa tanan. Kuan jud ka ng mga Hershey's good na chocolate, mao jud ang gikuha class.
Di ba naman ang guard, ma'am?
Kung mapansin ninyo class, walay guard ang 7-Eleven pagbuntag. Gabi lang ang naay guard. For example, duwa man gud na ang 7-Eleven na ay corporate, na ay franchise. Mabalaan niyo mo nga franchise na siya kay mostly man gud sa franchise kay kuan man gud na sila sa seguridad gud jud pero dili man gud siya gina require jud ni 7-Eleven nga corporate na magkuha og guard na sa inyo ha og kung magkuha mo og guard kay kamo man ang magpasweldo pero kung nagatipid mo mostly sa tindahan wala na sila kuha og guard mao to siya nga naharos jud ang isa ka section sa chocolate o ganang puro Axe og Dab nga deodorant kay mao man ang pinakamahal sa mua. Pagkatapos nila og shoplift sa kuan sa crossing nag-shoplift na pud sila sa tahimik ng 7-Eleven. Isa lang ka shoplifter. Pero 5 na sila nga magsulod sa inyong tindahan if ever. Pero wala naman to sila kay nakulong, nadakpan sila pag abot sa ulas nga tindahan. O nag-amin po sila nga dili sa taga Davao. Dayo lang sila. Ang ilahang target 7-Eleven na tindahan. Pasagsagan pa man to sa pag-boom sa 7-Eleven. Then, ang experience na ko sa ako ang kaugalingon nga tindahan class kay ambot og kung unsa to nahitabo, dili man siya shoplift pero hulog man gud gyapon siya as theft kay tungod gigamit niya ang product sa 7-Eleven class. Literal. Gigamit niya ang deodorant kay kuskus jud niya sa iyang ilok class na nag-perfume jud siya dito sa 7-Eleven. Tunga pa jud ang katunga pa jud iyang spray. Ana kay may hala ka social ba niya kay dab jud ang gigamit niya sa iyang Elox na nagkambyuhanay pa jud silang sa iyang mga kauban no o gamit. Although nadakpan na mo siya, gipakulong na mo siya for 1 day. Kaya wala man siya pambayad. Gipakulong na mo siya isa ka adlaw og gipablatter. Then next is the beneficial payments. Okay, Jennifer?
Beneficial payments. Beneficial payments such as where an employer pays the income tax owed by an employee are additional compensation income.
Okay, so sa beneficial payments, all you have to remember is that if na ay beneficial payment sa problem is additional siya sa compensation income. How about the other forms of compensation? Who wants to read this? Finale. Okay, Francis.
Sige, ma'am. Other forms of compensation. Other forms received due to service rendered are compensation paid in kind. It is to be noted that compensation can be paid in kind, but taxes are generally paid in money. For example, an insurance premium paid by employer for insurance coverage where the heirs of employee are the beneficiaries is the employee's income.
Okay, thank you for that, Francis. So other forms of compensation, we have here share of stocks received as compensation, naapod tay employee stock option, cancellation of debt, insurance premium as compensation, income tax paid as compensation. So, for a while. For our example, mhm. Okay. So as you can see here, we have an illustration. A window. Okay, so this is the illustration. So Miss C, a single, reported the following income for the taxable year of 2000 or 2001, depende, 2009. So salary for the year niya is 384,000 and the 13th month pay is 33,000. Then honorarium as a speaker is 2,000 and then commissions by 5,000 and fees as director as 50,000 and availed vacation leave. Always jud ninyo basahon ang mga note na included sa inyong mga problem. So, gi-avail niya ang vacation leave pay. Pero, this one is included na dito sa salary na iyahan na dawat na total of 12,000. Then, cost of living allowance na 9,000 and the interest income from time deposit in the BPI na 3,000 and royalty income from mining or net of final tax. So now the question is, Miss C retired at the age of 45 as of December 31, for example, 2009. So receiving a retirement pay of 1 million. Karon, what is the gross taxable compensation income of Miss C for 2009? So we have here ang iyahang formula for the gross taxable compensation income of Miss C for the year 2009. So it would be first is ang kuano ang kasali sa gross taxable compensation income niya kay ang iyahang salary for year 2009 nga 384,000. So kuan then we also have the honorarium as a speaker, no? So, ma'am, nga nang wala man kasali ang 13th month pay nga 33 kay di ba as you can remember dito as sa ato ang gi-discuss kaganyar gibasa saka lang siya masali sa as a taxable if 82,000 and up ang iyahang 13th month pay. Then we also have the honorarium um ano speaker na 2,000 and also the commissions na 5,000 in the fees as director na 50,000, then the cost of living allowance na 9,000 and the retirement pay na 1 million. Hala ma'am, di ba not taxable man ang retirement pay? So, class, nagbutang na ko og note diri sa example nako or illustration nako compound sa kwaon ng gross taxable compensation. So first note nako diri is that the retirement of pay of Miss C is subject siya to tax even though her employer kay nag-comply sa sa iyahang retirement requirements because for the reason nga nag-retire siya at the age of 45. So pila man ang edad class sa not taxable not taxable na retirement pay sa tuang discussion kaganiha. Pila? Pila ang edad?
60, ma'am.
50, ma'am.
50 years old. 50 siya kung naa siya sa approved na BIR nga kuan for the retirement and then 60 years old if ever nga napadulong siya dito sa not registered sa BIR, kailangan niya sundon ang retirement sa labor. Okay, nga 60 years old. So, because of the early retirement niya, wala siya kabot og 50, wala siya kabot og 60, 45 early retirement siya. Mao na ang reason nga nasulod siya as taxable ang 1 million. So, with regards to the vacation leave pay, the above situation as nabutang dito kay, di ba, included na siya sa iyahang salary for the year 2009. So, we don't have to solve for the vacation leave pay kay naa naman na siya sa sulod sa 384,000. Then, cost of living allowance is also taxable. And interest and royalty incomes are subject to final withholding tax because they are passive income, not compensation income. Therefore, they are no longer reportable in the annual tax return. And lastly, ang 13-month pay is now 82,000 para maging non-taxable. So, para makuha na to ang gross taxable compensation income, i-add na to silang tanan. So, the answer is 1,450,000. Nasabtan lang ba? Dapat jud i-familiarize nato tong mga kuan class tong naa dito sa tong discussion kaganiya kung sa tong mga non-taxable unsa tong mga exemptions ani and ang isa pod ka power aning tax na to nga subject class is you have to analyze the problem given sa inyo ha. So mao to siya, always ako ginaingon, if you have um Francis,
Ma'am.
nakay question?
Ay, wala. Ay, katong kaganiha lang, ma'am. Kato gani. Ano, ma'am, kanang sa service charge, good, ma'am, sa mga restaurant katugaran. Di ba, kanang ang uban mo kinakabutang na siya sa isdaan, ma'am.
Sa service charge?
Yes, ma'am. Asa siya nabilong, ma'am? Sa ano na siya, ma'am? Sa kuan, tips and gratuities.
Oh, mahulog siya dito sa kuan, sa gift and gratuities as wait lang ha. Nato siya diri ang if I'm not mistaken, if basig ko amang duha ni sila. Yeah, tips and gratuities na aspect. Mao nang kabalo ba mo sa kakuti sa ko ang mama sa ko mama? Kay di na siya manghatag og tips pag makakita na siya service charge sa resibo. Kay mahulog man gud to siya as kuan class as tip ninyo sa kuan sa mga nagatrabaho didto.
Yes, ma'am, kay pagka every month manggod ata na ma'am kay ginatapok-tapok na nila nya tungaan tanan ma'am. Yatag sila.
Mao na pag makitaan gani kay kuti man akong mama sa kuan no sa resibo, pag makitaan na niya nga naay service charge ang ginakan-anan namo nga restaurant, di na niya bilinan og kuan og tawag ani? Di niya bilinan og na-answer ba na kay imong question, Francis?
Yes, ma'am.
Nga naman, asa day ka nag-work,
Yes.
Francis?
Ay, dati, ma'am, sa restaurant, among ano ka ng ban gani, ma'am, na resto kay nagapabutang sila og kanang service charge. Ano ko sila nga necessary daw sa restaurant nga butang og service charge. Nya katong amo, ma'am, kay dili mo siya ng restaurant na kanaganing sikat jud siya na restaurant. Nya franchise lang pud amo. Pero ang amo ang main na kay na siya ano kanang service charge. Pero ano sila kay nagadepende lang daw sa tag-iya nabutang.
Mo depende sa tag-iya og kung kuan og kung magpabutang og service charge. Pero kung kapras gud maka-encounter mo kapras ako ang mama og nga customer, mag-question jud ba na siya, "Ngano naman mo service charge?" Magyaw-yaw ba dahil ako mama?
Dito, ma'am, na may uban customer ganda. Na service charge niya, pangit kayo ang kanang inyong ano, service.
Mag-ana jud na siya. Oo. Isa ako ang kuan, isa akong mama sa mga tao ngay ngana.
Lalo na pag maulaw po ang kanang ano, ma'am, no, ang restaurant. Dapat maulaw po, dapat ninduton jud nilang service.
If kuan man galing di ay sila magbutang sila og service charge, i-make sure jud nila nga nindot ang ilang service nga i-provide na kanang kuan good kanang perfect jud kayo ang kuan ang paghatag nila og service kanang wala na jud ikayaw-yaw ang customer ini kakita. Sometimes baya maka kuan gud Japon ka kanang maka-wonder ka kay dako baya ang iba nga service charge.
Yes, ma'am. 10% ata sa imong ano, ma'am, no, kanang
order.
total bill. Oh, total bill.
Dako oy bang unsa na lang mag-abot kapra sa mo mag-abot man kana mga libo-libo. Makaingon
ano naiuban, ma'am, ba na? Sige, ma'am. Naiuban, ma'am, ba na kanang dili nila ginahatag sa kanang kuan kanang employee. Madiretso sa ano, kita sa company ay kanang ano. Sa restaurant. Una ako ni bala na naman dati. Dili mahatag sa ilaha ang kay total man na siya monthly man ato na, ma'am, or every kanang mag-out sila. Mahulog na lang na ano, pero dili sila makareklamo. Mahulog na lang na sa company madiretso.
Ang iba man gud kay wala kabalong nga para dapat na sa ilaha as a tip. Mo na ginapabayaan nila.
Sige.
So
ma'am, kato lang, ma'am.
Mo lang
Ito yung
na
salamat.
sa konsensya sa gitrabahuan or sa kumpanya.
Sige. Gani,
O
ma'am.
kung gani, lain pud kayo dapat sa tip jud baya na sa kuan kaysa kamo bayaan na dito no naghatag og serbisyo, kamo bayaan ang atubang tapos ibulsa lang, o di ba? Lain pud kaayo.
Depende po siguro na sa ano, ma'am. Management siguro.
Depende. Depende ra jud na sa kuan management.
Ito lang, ma'am. Salamat, ma'am.
Welcome. So na ba may questions and clarification with regards sa tuwang topic for today?
None po.
None so far. So, class, if ever nga ko ano naamoy ma-formulate na question sa inyong mind. Again, ayo mo og kaulaw og approach pero if ever nga nag-message mo sa kuha, nga wala dayon ko ka-reply, just wait for my kuan lang reply pero kuan man god karon man god na times I'm practicing to sleep 9 p.m. no. So sorry jud kayo og nga na nga mga oras na may question na dili ko ka-reply. Gina practice man gud nako nga ilayo nako ako ang cellphone sa ko ang side from 9 p.m. onwards kay murag every every day kay alas 2 na ko makatulog nya magmata na pud kog alas 6 sa buntag so marag pila na lang ka oras ako nantulog every day every time nga naay cellphone sa konta pa di ko katulog og sayo. So kulatan na lang ko mag-reply in the morning, ha? Okay lang?
Sige, ma'am.
Yes
Okay lang.
po.
Yes,
Sige,
ma'am.
sige. Nga na lang ha. Pero og kung kuan og kung tawagan na free time man ako na siya or whatever kay kuan ka na mo reply man dayon ko noon wala ko man na siya ginapabayaan ng mga message kuan lang jud ang sa gabi lang jud kay ginaingnan man gud ko sa kuan parents now nga i-practice na na layo ang akong self sa cellphone kay basig mao po daw na ang reason nga dili ko katulog og sayo. Sige kog atak yun og insomnia nako ba. And then baliktad po ako ang tulog so naay times na dugay lagi naka-reply karon si ma'am sa hapon. Sometimes makatulog kog alas 3 makamata kog alas 8 sa gabi. So if ana ang case nako gabi pud ko maka-reply sa inyo ha. Ana baliktad naman gud ako ang sleeping time karon. Mo nang ginabalik na pud nako sa uno ako ang sleeping pattern kay not healthy siya class, not healthy. So, mao lang to for this afternoon. Tomorrow, we will be having our activities and quizzes, ha? I-post lang nako siya sa Google Classroom and sa Edmodo. Ang activity sa Edmodo, ang quiz sa Google Classroom, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much for listening for
Thank
this
you, ma'am.
afternoon. And sa mga wala
Thank
pa
you,
naka-answer
ma'am.
sa kuan, sa mga wala pa naka-answer sa tawag ani sa activities and kuan di lang ha. Ayos ang maghawa sa kuan na video call. Mag-screenshot lang ko, mag-screenshot. Beep.
Wait.
Okay. Ayan. So, kuan, sa mga wala pa naka-take og quiz, activities, wala pa na to gi-close ang mga form og mga activity, just answer it na lang dito ha. Kay balaan man pud nako noon kung kinsang mga na late og pasa og
Yes,
on time nagpasa. Okay?
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay po,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you
po,
so
ma'am.
much.
Thank you, ma'am.
All, keep safe and God bless. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Yes, po. Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.